Well, hi everybody. This is my first Flyte community meeting, and let me tell you first a little bit about myself, so you know who is talking to you. My name is Omar Tarabai. I am CTO and co-founder of Perian. Perian is a startup based in south of Germany, and in my a little bit about my background. So I have with around 15 years of tech experience. I worked at Google as an SRE for 4 years. I've also done a few other um, jobs, previous hats as a software engineer, as a cloud consultant for a while, and a bit of SRE and DevOps. And what I want to talk to you about today is what Perian is and how as you as a Flyte user can make use of it and how we integrate between Perian and Flyte. So Perian is a sky computing platform. And if you've never heard the term sky computing, it's basically an abstraction layer on top of cloud providers, where we provide a unified or uniform interface for you to access resources on multiple clouds. And we will talk a bit deeper into how this works, especially with Flyte. But taking a step back and talking about the challenge or the problems that we're trying to address. First category or first problem is costs. As you all probably have experienced, public cloud is expensive. If you're running on one of the hyperscalers, especially if you're doing AI computation, your bill is probably too high. There's also a bit of cloud spending that goes to waste if you have dedicated infrastructure, if you have clusters running all the time, some of it goes to waste. There is also problems around dependencies. So GPU shortage is a problem that we've all probably heard of or experienced at some point in the last few years. The problem of vendor lock-in. So if you're working with one of the hyperscalers or any of the cloud providers for a while, after a while you're locked in, migrating to another cloud provider. If there is better, let's say, hardware availability or better pricing, is a whole other cost that you need to take into account. And of course, other complexities around the infrastructure burden around taking care of your infrastructure, your DevOps, and so on. So particularly talking about AI computation, what solution Perian tries to provide for you is to allow you to serverlessly run your AI workload. We pick for you automatically the best cloud provider that fits your computation needs. We take care of infrastructure provisioning. We take care of workload management. And at the end, you have one single account with Perian and a single bill that you receive at the end, no matter how many cloud providers that you've used through Perian. And you pay only for the time that your workload was executing. Digging a little bit deeper into how the workflow works with Perian, the first step that you do is you specify your requirements. So you specify the number of cores that you need, the amount of memory, which accelerator you need, and how many of them. You could also specify a specific geolocation, let's say in Germany, or maybe Europe in general, or US East, or a general location. And other requirements like green energy. And we take these requirements and we run it through our optimizer. We have a database of all the instances or the hardware that is provided by the cloud providers that we are working with. And the optimizer basically selects the best hardware, the best offering, depending on the requirements, how strict your requirements are, or what you need exactly. And then we jump into provisioning. So we automatically provision the instances, the hardware that you need. We set up everything seamlessly in the background, and then we execute your workload and take care of the life cycle of it, so monitoring it and then cleaning up. This is a general workflow. We'll talk about how this works with Flyte in particular and how you can use it. Before that, let's talk a little bit about the coverage. Right now, as of today, we're working with 4 supported providers that your workload can run on. These are Exascale, OVH, Gridscale, and Open Telecom Cloud. And we have a few other providers in the pipeline, particularly GCP, IBM, and Oracle. You might have, it might be the case that you haven't heard of a lot of these providers. These are more on the small side providers. They're also mostly, with the exception of Google, IBM, and Oracle, they are all European-based cloud providers. We have a number of criteria on how we pick the cloud providers that we try to work on or that we partner with. And that's basically a combination of hardware availability, so what kind of GPUs, what kind of accelerators that you can offer us, and the pricing that they offer. So particularly the hyperscalers are usually the most expensive and not always providing the best hardware availability. That's why you will only see, for example, GCP and not Azure and AWS. As I mentioned, we're focusing mainly on European cloud providers, but we're also trying to expand in the Americas as well. On the right, on the map, you could see what our current coverage is in terms of data centers. So the purple color is what we offer now. The lime or green is the upcoming data centers. As you can see, it's mostly in Europe, plus Canada and Australia. And the US will be onboarded with data centers soon. And in terms of GPUs, you probably use some of those already. We're focusing on the cutting edge NVIDIA GPUs, and these are the GPUs that we support at the moment, and a couple of upcoming GPUs. We have a selection of more than 300,000 instance types that our optimizer basically picks from, depending on your requirements. In general, how you interact with Perian Sky platform, you use either the API or CLI, and with the addition of the Flyte agent that we'll be talking about, you can use that now as well. So let's dig a little bit deeper into how this works within Flyte. I think this is probably the most interesting part for you. So on the left side, you can see your Flyte cluster. It could be running anywhere. Inside the cluster, you may be running a number of Flyte agents. There are a lot of agents, I think. Somebody from Flyte can correct me, but I think around 15 agents already supporting different infrastructures like BigQuery and OpenAI. And you could then be running a Perian agent as well. And what you do is that you run your task, or you associate one of your workflow tasks with Perian config or the Perian agent. And the agent takes care of transferring all the information about your task and shipping it to Perian infrastructure through our API. And then going through the process that we talked about with the optimizer and provisioning, we start running your workload on one of our cloud provider partners. As you can see also on the right to top right side, the infrastructure that we provision will need access to 2 main things for it to run correctly. The first one is a Flyte storage bucket. This is where the communication or the tasks input and output happens. So our infrastructure, Perian infrastructure, will need access to the storage bucket, and it also needs access to the Flyte task image. So you need to build a Flyte image that encapsulates the Perian agent and that is accessible from our infrastructure. And we'll talk exactly how you can do that in the demo in a minute. I think we are ready to jump into the demo. So Sage, if you could please switch to my shared screen. Perfect. So let me know if the screen size, the size is good. If you have any issues with visibility, let me know. I can maybe zoom a little bit more. If not, basically what we have here is a very typical Flyte workflow. It's an example workflow that has a single task called say hello, and it's basically it runs from this workflow. We have here two things that are different from a normal Flyte workflow. We have the image spec here that you use to instruct Flyte to build the image for you, and you need to have the Perian plugin as one of the packages. So you probably have multiple packages here. One of them should be the Perian plugin and the registry. So basically, this image should be pushed into a public registry that can be used by the Perian infrastructure to pull the image. It could be also password protected, and then you would have to configure the credentials, and I will tell you about that as well. The second thing that you need to configure is basically the general Perian config here. So you need to specify for this task. So this has the task config of type Perian config. This instructs Flyte to use the Perian agent. And within here, you specify then all the requirements that you have for the infrastructure that will run your workload. In this case, we're basically specifying that we want one accelerator of type A100. So what will happen is basically Perian will pick the cheapest offering from all of our providers that has a single A100 accelerator. Other parameters that you can specify, so here's the README, are cores, number of cores, memory, and as you saw, accelerator type. And you could also specify the country code if you want to run your workload in a specific geolocation. So let's run this right now and see how that looks like. So locally, I have a demo cluster, demo Flyte cluster running, so we can use that. And what I will do is I will just do a PyFlyte run with of this workflow that we just saw, pass to it a custom name, Flyte community, and hopefully that goes smoothly. Let's see. So as you can see, it says that first thing that the image is already built. I already built it to save some time, but normally at this point, Flyte will build the image and push it to the registry that you have configured the image spec. And let's see what this looks like here. So now we have the task running. It's already initializing, type Perian task. It's going to take a couple of minutes for it to provision the infrastructure, the instance on Perian. In the meantime, we can talk a bit about the credentials that you need to pass for all of this to work and how you can specify it. So talking about credentials, we use the secrets inside your Flyte cluster. So it's a typical, it reads the secrets that you have configured in the Kubernetes Flyte cluster. And it's looking for, let's actually jump into the code and I can show you exactly what I have configured. So if we do, since I'm running this cluster locally, so I have the secrets configured locally, and I have on my etc secrets, I have 4 secrets. Perian organization and Perian token, these are the ones that you get when you create an account with us. And in addition to that, I have the AWS access key and secret. that are needed to access the bucket, the storage bucket of Flyte that is configured in the cluster itself. So these credentials only need to have read and write access to that S3 bucket where your Flyte data is stored. So if you configure that, the agent automatically reads these values and passes it on to the Perian infrastructure. We could already use the Perian CLI to see what the status of the job is. So we can do Perian job get lost. And I'll zoom in a little bit. So let's look at what's happening right now. So the status is initializing. We have general information. We have the workload information. So basically, you have the image, the image name, the image tag that was built by Flyte, and the full Flyte command that is running. And you could also see here the instance type that was picked by Perian. In this case, we have provider as Open Telecom, the region is Germany, and the name of the instance type, and a bit more about the hardware of the instance. So let's take a look and see. It's take a couple of minutes, maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. If we jump back to the slides for a minute, Sage. Thank you. So as I was saying, these are the 2 main things that need to be accessed by the Perian infrastructure. So we saw the bucket credentials in case that your task image is in a registry that is password protected. I think we can go back to the demo. Sorry, Sage. Thank you. And in addition to the AWS credentials, you could specify custom Docker registry credentials. So basically, URL and the username and password that can be used to access the image that encapsulates a task. So let's talk. So now it's running, which means that the infrastructure has already been provisioned, and looks like it's done. So let's take a look. So the output is hello Flyte community as expected. The runtime is about 4 minutes, 12 seconds, and that's basically the provisioning of your hardware of the instance and pulling the image and execution. And as I mentioned also previously, you only pay for the time where the image was actually running. So your bill does not include basically any setup time that we have to take care of. Let's take another look at what the CLI says. So now the status is done, and also if there are any logs that your task has outputted, it will be shown here as well. I think that's all I have for the demo. So if we go back to the slides, please. Thank you. Yeah, so as you saw, you can use Perian very easily with Flyte. You just need to set up the agent on your infrastructure and configure your hardware requirements, whatever that is, whether it's very concrete or very general. And basically, we take care of the rest. If you have any questions now, I'd be happy to answer them. There's also a link here if you want to sign up and try it out, try the Flyte cluster, the Flyte agent, or even without Flyte, if you're interested as well. Use this link, and we'll happily also provide 100 euros of free credits for you to play around. And yes, let's see if there are any questions.
I know there's one question from Dennis, which he asked, does Perian also take resource availability into consideration, i.e. does the task won't be scheduled with a cloud provider that does not have these resources available right now?
Yes, so we have 2 ways of checking for availability. So we when we run a new workload onto, let's say we pick an instance and our provider says this is not available for any reason, we automatically take that reasoning into consideration and mark this instance either as permanently unavailable or temporarily unavailable, and then basically we do a failover automatically to the next best instance that we have in our database. So you would see basically a sort of a retry in your logs that says we couldn't find this instance available, please, or not please, we couldn't find this instance available, we're going to jump or we're going to fail over to the second best one, and we automatically then try to run your workload there. Let's see, there's another question. Are there plans for central log aggregation so that there are no log links in Flyte? That is a good point. So link, we still don't have a front end, a web front end is something that we're working on right now. And once we have that, you'll be able to see the logs in a web UI, and then we can have a link easily from Flyte to that. But right now you can only use either the API or the CLI to see the logs of your tasks. Did I miss any other questions?
Those are all the ones I see right now. If anyone has any other questions, put them in the chat right now. Obviously, you can also connect with Omar and ask him questions later as well. And I also shared the link for the beta signup in all the places as well in the chat. So if you want to go check that out, definitely do so. And we'll wait, maybe a couple more minutes. If anyone else has any other questions, throw them in the chat. I know sometimes there's like 30-second delay or something too, or probably not quite that. 30 seconds is too long. A couple second delay from when we say something to the chat or when people see it. That was a really cool presentation though, Omar. And I feel like it's something when I talk with so many people putting stuff in production, they all want something like this. So it's going to be something that I refer people to check out all the time, I think now.
I'm also happy to answer any questions offline as well. So feel free to connect with me over LinkedIn or email.
Yeah, let me
we can discuss.
Grab your LinkedIn real quick and I can share that in the chat as well. And if anyone has any questions about Flyte or anything later too, again, join the Slack channel there and happy to answer things there as well.
Oh, I see there's another question from Dennis. Only single node execution worked for now. Yes, yes, exactly. Single node execution worked for now. Obviously, with Flyte, you could do multi node, and then in the background, you would trigger multiple Perian nodes in parallel. That's not an issue, but we don't handle orchestration on our side, so we basically depend on something like Flyte to take care of orchestration.
Cool. And I shared the link to your LinkedIn as well. So everyone should go connect and follow Omar. At least keep up with all the awesome stuff that you're working on. If not, to ask you questions later as well.
Sure.
With that, there aren't any other questions. We can hang around a little bit longer if you want, or we can wrap up the presentation. There's still a lot of people watching. I see the live number, so people are hanging around, but not asking any questions.
I hope that means it was clear enough.
Great. All the questions were answered. People are probably going to go check it out, and then at least this is what I often do. If I don't have any during the talk, I go check it out. So you should go follow that link, sign up, or go to the Perian, it was a .io, and check it out. And then if you have questions later, connect and ask them to Omar. I know that's often what I kind of do. So, and Dennis said, "Thank you." Yeah, thank you for asking the really good questions, Dennis.
Yeah, thanks.
And with that, I think we can wrap up our live stream today. Thank you so much again, Omar, for coming in and giving us the presentation. It was really cool, really fun. I think it's really valuable.
My pleasure.
And thank you again, Kevin, for the demo at the beginning. And of course, everyone who was streaming in live, and especially for everyone who asked questions. Again, go connect with us on all those places we already shared, the Slack channel, Omar's LinkedIn, and feel free to ask questions later there if those questions come to mind. So again, thank you, everyone. And I will go ahead and end the stream now. Thank you again so much, Omar, for coming on.
Thank you for the opportunity.